everybody. Welcome to our first episode of Web Dev Speak. Today I want to talk about domain names. That's the first place that a lot of my clients have gotten tripped up over the years. So we're going to go into a few of the things that you need to know about domain names, how to find out basic information about them, and if you've forgotten where you've purchased yours, some of the top places people buy their domain names from. So for first off, the domain name is your URL. It is the .com address that you buy when you are looking to build your website. Sometimes you buy a .net, sometimes you buy a .org, depending on your business. I always recommend to my clients to get a version with the .com if they can. People are still very used to looking for a .com. I have actually named businesses based on whether or not I can get the .com version of that website. So first things first, how you can find out some basic information, like if the domain that you want is available or not. So we're going to go and look at a free tool called Whois.com. And you can see here you've got a couple places to go look to see if you can find your ideal domain name. So if you wanted to go see, for instance, my domain name is capcoder.com, and I want to see who owns that, I can look up the public information for my domain right here. And you can kind of tell, you can see I bought it at GoDaddy. You can see when I purchased that domain. And you can even see that it's a private registration. There are some registrations that are public. You can find somebody's public information right here. I pay a little extra to keep my information private. Why do I do that? It costs me about $10 a year, but it is worth it because this very public information means that spammers can go get my cell phone number, my email address, and start emailing me and calling me and asking to build my website, which has happened multiple times. It's always fun to tell them that I actually build websites for a living and the domain that they're calling me about was for a client. But now that GoDaddy and others have made it so easy to make a domain private, I would recommend always going for that private registration. And I can search for a domain name and see if it's available or not. And I'm going to show you one that I've been kind of looking at. And it will tell me it's unavailable. But then it will give me other matching domains with different extensions and tell me where I can go buy it. Now, I actually don't purchase domains through Whois. And where do I typically like to buy my domains? I actually like to buy them at GoDaddy. But one of the main reasons that I actually really like buying domains at GoDaddy is because they populate so quickly throughout the internet. So when I'm changing hosting, when I'm changing anything, I'm able to go in and change that domain and it will populate across the internet within just a few minutes. Some other domain names, it is literally 24 to 48 hours. So depending on where you bought them, and that's a lot of the times when I'm talking to a client and I can say, okay, where did you buy your domain name? We need to change that. We need to change that registration so that we can launch your website. So when you don't know, a lot of clients, if I pop out a couple of names, GoDaddy is honestly the first one that most people think of. They have great marketing that makes you think that it's easy. Their domains are about $10 for the first year, $10 to privatize the registration. They have a lot of cool things built in. It's still one of my favorite places, and it feels wrong saying that sometimes. If you're not sure where you bought your domain, another popular one that a lot of my clients have used is called Namecheap.com. They're great because they have low-cost options. They're a little bit more geared to developers like myself, but I do have some clients who either had a developer help them in the past or somebody who had a little bit more knowledge and know-how. I don't feel like a lot of people stumble on Namecheap the way they do GoDaddy, but it is a great place to buy a domain. And then Network Solutions. I don't know why, and I haven't even been logged in. This is hilarious. Um, I don't know why, but Network Solutions was really, really popular several years ago. So I feel like if you bought your domain a while ago and you don't know where, it always seems to be Network Solutions where my clients have found they bought their domain from there. Network Solutions is awful. I hate it with all of the fiery burning passion. Um, it's great. You can buy a domain, but it's one of those services where the last several times, now granted it has been 3 years, but the last several times that I had to go in here and change a domain and where it points, when I launched a new website, so a new place where your website lives, Network Solutions took literally 24 to 48 hours to get that through the internet. GoDaddy does it in 2 minutes. So you can guess why I really don't like Network Solutions or haven't before, but it is a place where a lot of my clients have purchased their domains in the past. Something else to keep in mind with any of these domains, no matter where you purchase them, you're able to move them between services. So if you purchased your domain at GoDaddy and for some reason you want to move it someplace, if you purchased your domain through Wix.com when you built a website through them, you are allowed to transfer that domain to another company. It just needs to be a company that can handle that service, like GoDaddy, like Namecheap. It's a little bit of a complex process depending on where. And you can even transfer your domains between GoDaddy accounts, for instance. So if I buy a domain for my client, I can transfer that domain into an account of his or hers without having to worry about needing to bill them back for it. Look, I am a huge proponent in having control of your online presence, and that means your domain. So one other thing to keep in mind, if you had a marketing agency, a web developer, anybody like that buy a domain on your behalf at any point in the last few years, make sure that you always have access to that domain, that you did not purchase that domain and have paid them to keep it up, meaning that they hold on to it. That is your company, that is your domain name. They shouldn't be holding on to it and holding you hostage. So when you have somebody help you buy a domain, either ask them to help you purchase it, but purchase it through an account that you've set up, or transfer it to your account after it's been purchased. There is no reason they should not agree to that, because that is your company. I have had more than one person have this problem where they've had to go out and get a new domain because they can't get their domain from their previous developer. And that's just, you know what, that's just wrong. That is terrible that anybody does that, but it is more common than I'd like to admit in my industry, and that's what gives developers a bad name, when people act like this and kind of hold your domain hostage. So anytime, if you're not buying the domain yourself, although I swear it is super easy, guys, go to GoDaddy, go to Namecheap, buy the domain, find the .com that you want and purchase it. It is so, so simple. But if you're still not comfortable with that, if you still have somebody help you, then make sure that they're doing so with your account, or they're doing so and transferring it to your account after that, because it is your domain name. All right, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments. Join me next time. We're going to talk about hosting, because a lot of people get confused by that too, and it is so important to know where your website lives.